All right, you guys, here we go. So welcome to another fun night. Assessments are all completed for this week. Thank you for getting those turned in. It's so cool to see you guys doing well with those. A couple of tips. It's August now, right? So people are kind of like doing our last ditch efforts to enjoy summer before school starts, before we go back into a new routine, before fall begins, which I love summer and everything, but I'm kind of looking forward to hoodies. What can I say? But anyway, and I'm also really looking forward to my kids going back to school. Gosh, I love them, but oh God, I'm so ready. But with all that being said, what happens when we go out or we want to make the most of our time? We tend to dine out more often. We tend to go out to more restaurants. We tend to try and live that little bit of life a little bit more. So some tips that I have for you when it comes to that, something that is really, really helpful to keep in the back of your mind is to order meals that are more ingredient based instead of recipe based. So what I mean by that is when you're going out to eat, instead of choosing a calzone or a lasagna or, you know, this thing that requires all those ingredients to create and you have no clue what's in it, it's a lot easier to track a pork chop or a grilled chicken breast or a steak with a potato and veggies or cottage cheese, something like that. Ingredient based meals that you can piece together are a lot easier for you to keep control of whether or not you're tracking them. Whereas if you order lasagna, well, then you have lasagna and you're like, I have no clue what's in this lasagna. How the heck am I going to track this thing? Or how the heck am I going to know where I'm at with this other than the fact that I am positive I'm over in carbs? That's okay. If you want to enjoy lasagna from time to time, that's fine by me. You know that already. But with that also being said, if you want to stay on track, if you want to maintain better control of yourself, if you want to maintain better control of that meal, order the meals that are more of that ingredient based instead of the recipe based. It makes life a lot easier. That way you can be like, I'm going to eat a quarter of that potato instead of the whole dang thing. Or I'm going to order the side salad instead because then I can manage myself a little bit better and I'd be tempted by the baked potato, right? There's different ways that you can combat that. So hopefully that helps you guys a little bit if you're heading out to have like dinners or lunches or that kind of thing with your families for these last couple of weeks. I know that we are, but just wanted to put that out there. So I think it's a really helpful tip. Aside from that, we are halfway through this challenge. So if you are in the challenge, we're almost halfway through already, which is super crazy. But I want you guys to be continuing to encourage people to jump in with you. The other day we had somebody that posted about their workout from the app on their story, and then their cousin reached out, and now their cousin is doing it, and there's more people. So if you post about something that you're enjoying, whether it's a workout or tracking a food or one of the podcasts that you're learning about in there or whatever it is, if you're using the app, using the challenge, and you're enjoying it, post about it. Tag me in it, even better. And that will just encourage more people in your atmosphere to take control of their lives too, because the more people that you have in your corner doing the same things that you're doing, the more support you're going to have and the better you're going to do probably too, especially if they're like kind of rooting for you, kind of doing the same things, kind of learning the same things. It only makes everybody's lives a little bit easier if you have multiple people in the same bracket. So post about it. And don't worry about if, your aunt, whomever from 2 states away has something negative to say, because, well, she's going to have that opinion, whether you are eating donuts or you're eating salads. It doesn't matter. So do you guys. Okay. That's what I wanted to put out there about that. Invest in yourself topics coming up. For those of you that are newer here, we have our small group coaching plan, which is called Invest in Yourself. Amy won our latest spot. It's so exciting. So every month we have a new winner that is, the group votes for, and then that person is invited to a small retreat. Like last time I rented the same house because it worked so well. So I rent a house that's close by to here. We work out in my farm gym, and then we go and do things around town. We hang out at the house. We go to bed early because we like to go to bed early. We grill or cook, or we just laugh a lot. And it's really, really fun. So it's like 5 to 6 of us. And then we just hang out for a weekend, and that's really easy. So that is one of the cool pieces of the Investing Yourself, is this really awesome community-based thing. And then we have these weekly calls and these topics that you learn about. Like this week, we learned about grounding and earthing and how it's really cool to stick your feet into the dirt and what that actually does for you. And it's more than just being hippie-ish, because that's what I used to think that it was. But it's actually really, really helpful if you go and do it and you learn why. So we kind of go through all these different tasks. So the upcoming tasks are going to be resisting sarcopenia or fighting against sarcopenia, and just to be aware, that's not a big scary word. That is muscle loss with age, but that is something scary that we do need to avoid. So we're going to learn how to do that, because as females, which most of us are in this group, we start to lose muscle mass after the age of 30, like we are meant to. So we got to fight against that crap. So we're going to talk about all of those things, how to fight against it, and what that really means. So that's going to be next week. After that, we're going to talk about why we are going to work seeds into our life daily. Obviously, unless you have diverticulitis, then we will not be working seeds into your life daily. But otherwise, we're going to talk about how important seeds are, specific seeds, how they add up, how they help you, all kinds of good stuff there. We're going to talk about receiving compliments better. So often people will give us a compliment about anything from our shoes to our physique, to our hair, to our eyes, to our integrity, and we just don't know how to handle it. And so I think that's really important to understand how to receive a compliment. And it says a lot about the compliments that you're handing out. So we're going to dive into that one. And then the last one is going to be activating your parasympathetic nervous system and what that means and how it can be super helpful for bloating, hormones, digestion, mood, everything. So I'm really excited for that one too. So those are going to be our upcoming topics. If you guys have questions about the Invest in Yourself program, let me know. Aside from that, just continue sharing the group, the app, posts, recipes, or cookbooks. If you use my cookbook, share about those, the podcasts, whatever you wish, whatever's helping you, please keep sharing it. That is so incredibly helpful to me. You have no idea. And then from there, if you do choose to make first form orders and you're newer here, or you're looking at a new product, ask me, right? I'm going to tell you if the product's going to be a good use of your money at this time, and I'll tell you why or why not. Just because I don't want you to put your hard-earned money into something that maybe doesn't suit your goals appropriately right now. Also, I'll tell you what flavors to grab or what bundle to get so that you save some money on the back end, right? All the good things. And then I just ask that you send me your order numbers to start with 1P after you make those orders. If you don't want to make orders, that's cool too. You just let me know. But that's what I've got there. Now we're going to dive into heart rate training and what does that mean and how to kind of look at your heart rate and be able to match it with the goal that you have in mind. So heart rate training can be used to dial in training for specific goals. So if we have a specific running goal, we are going to aim for a specific heart rate goal. If we have a specific fat loss goal, we're going to aim for a specific goal. If we're going to be aiming for a specific muscle gain goal, we're going to aim for a specific heart rate goal. Like they kind of go together, which is great. So we're going to learn what that means. It could be a physique goal, performance goals, just like I was just saying. It can be used to manage lifting, running, cycling, HIIT, cross training. All that stuff can really go in and tell you what that heart rate actually means when you're working out. And then heart rate zones purely give you the insight to how hard your heart is working at that given time. So all of those things really, really help. So earlier this week in the group, and you may have missed this, and I think I put an announcement as well, but to calculate your heart rate zones, we're going to math a little bit. Okay. If you don't like mathing, it's okay. We're going to math a little bit. We got a lot of teachers in here. I'm probably going to say something wrong anyway, so it's going to be okay, but super easy. Take 220 minus your age. That's going to give you your approximate maximum HR. When I say HR, heart rate. HR heart rate. Okay. So 220 minus your age. Pretty simple stuff. So let me just, whip up the calculator here. And 220 minus 35. So 185. Funny story. The entire year of 34, I thought I was 33. Shay told me on my 35th birthday that I was 35, and I said, shit. So FYI, that happened. Anyway, so 185 is my supposed approximate HR. So with that being said, I say approximate because if I'm doing an all-out sprint, like I'm doing a sprint interval and I push myself really hard, I see my heart rate get up to 192, 183, right? So it really just depends on the person, but this is going to be the approximate numbers that we're going to work with here. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take that result of your 220 minus your age, and you're going to multiply it by the following numbers to give you the different approximate stages of the different heart rate levels. Okay. So if you take that number and you multiply it by 0.68 to 0.73, so you're going to take my 185 times 0.68 And then you're going to take it and then multiply 185 by 0.73. It's going to give you a range. That range is going to be the heart rate range that you aim for easy. Okay. And we're going to go through what easy means and what that's going to help with and go from there. There's nothing wrong with easy. You're going to spend a lot of your time in easy, honestly, which is great. Okay. Okay. So then we are going to take the same maximum heart rate number and we're going to multiply 0.74 to 0.8. And that's going to give us our next range. Okay, the next one is going to be 0.81 to 0.87. Next one is 0.88 to 0.93. And then the last one is 0.94 to 100. Okay, so there. Is that right? 0.11. I don't know, whatever 100% is, they'll give you 185. Okay, multiply it by 1. Thank you, Jenna. See, she's the teacher. I'm not the teacher. I would do that on my phone. I go, oh, that's right. She's laughing right now. Anyway, so with all that being said, that's going to give you the different levels. Okay. So we're going to cut like an easy level, and then you're going to get kind of like a steady level, a hard to moderate, hard, and then maximal. So we're going to go through what these different stages kind of mean for you here in just a second. So for me, being, the ripe age of 35, 126 to 136 is that easy level for me, or below, right? What I want to point out is like my average heart rate this week, I'm doing my workouts, I'm doing strength traditional training, I'm doing supersets with 90 seconds to 2-minute rests between them. My average heart rate is like 100, right? I feel like I'm hardly doing anything, but my legs are quivering. Okay. So my heart rate is low, but I'm still putting in a lot of intentional effort. So I wanted to point out, yes, 126 to 136 is going to be my easy pace. It's going to be my easy heart rate, or below if you're doing like traditional strength training. Okay. But if you're going for a walk, right, this is going to be great for walking. This is where your heart rate should kind of fall if you're going for a good walk. That is going to be primarily using fat for fuel. You're not really going to tap into a whole lot of your carbohydrates or your glycogen stores or anything like that for these types of workouts, for this type of movement. Okay, so traditional lifting, like I was just saying, is going to use carbs and fats. Because of the resistance work, it's going to use carbs. But then during that recovery time, during that 90 seconds to 2 minutes, it's going to use my fat for fuel for the recovery. So this is actually really fantastic when you do resistance training because it uses both. If you're just going for a walk, it's probably going to use more of just the fat. From there, the conversation should be really easy. So if you're working out with someone and you're doing for like a walk, you should be able to hold that conversation fairly easily with them. And then it's going to be really, really best to stay in this zone if you're trying to retain muscle. And then if you're going to be using appropriate nutrition, you should be doing post-workout after resistance training sessions like this, but not after walks like this. Okay, so if you're just going for a walk, whole food meal afterwards. Okay, no need for the post-workout meal after that one. But if you are doing resistance training and our heart rate is low, like mine has been, still do post-workout so we can help recover. Okay, so the next one, the steady pace, 137 to 149. This is going to be like recovery jogging, right? Light cardio, something you can sustain for a longer period of time. This is going to be what I call like trotting, right? Because I'm a farm person, so I relate everything to horses and stuff like that. I don't even own horses, but trotting, right? You can picture me out there on the trail. Okay, so with that being said, if you're looking to improve your endurance performance or have a long recovery jog or a break from lifting, this is a great ideal zone to be for the majority of the time that you are out there. It's going to be hard on muscle tissue and muscle retention if you do it too often, but doing it maybe once a week or so, not going to be too hard on the muscle tissue. But if you are going out there for a longer jog day in, day out, it can be quite hard on that muscle tissue because you're not giving your legs specifically enough time to really recover between between lifting and running and the constant beat up, and there's not enough time to recover and rebuild. So that could actually cause muscle loss. So we want to make sure that if we are doing this type of a situation, that you have that performance goal, and that's why we're doing this time and time again. But if we have a fat loss, muscle gain, muscle retention goal, we want to be working this jog in like once in a while. Let's see. So conversation with this should be moderate, right? So you should be able to kind of have a conversation during this. If you are huffing and puffing, you're probably working way too hard. Okay. That is something to keep in mind. It's a conversation pace. Moderately hard for me would be at 150 to 162 with that heart rate. The way that I kind of relate to this, because I hardly ever go for jogs and stuff anymore. But if I'm doing like sets of box jumps or something like that, this is where this is going to kind of hype up in here. All of a sudden I do like a set of 15 or 20 box jumps. Here's my heart rate. We are here. It is not easy to have a conversation. Conversation is difficult. My kids always come in and ask me what my favorite color is or what time it is or what time they're going to grandma's house in the middle of this session. And I always go, I can't talk to you right now. So keep that in mind. Like conversation's gonna be harder here. Muscle breakdown will start to occur in these training sessions, and recovery needs to be prioritized. So post-workout nutrition is gonna be absolutely imperative. That's gonna be when I typically will use Formula One and Ignition, or some of my people out there use Vegan Power Pro and Ignition. So that's gonna be that primary ultimate time to be recovering. It's definitely going to be more carb focused for fuel when you are in this heart rate zone. Hard workout stage is that like almost to the top. 163 to 173. This is definitely going to be where HIIT generally is going to put you. So if you're really doing HIIT and you're doing it intentionally and you're really putting the effort behind it, so it's that high intensity interval training. Like sprint interval work will put me here as well. It's going to help improve lactic acid threshold. So lactic acid is going to be when you are like your muscles start to hurt. It's like that stinging feeling in them. And that's when that lactic acid is building up in there and it's making you slow down. So by doing HIIT or doing sprint intervals, you start to get that lactic acid buildup. This will improve that threshold as you're moving forward to help you keep on going longer. So that's something that's really beneficial with this. You're going to get less soreness during workouts as fast, and fatigue will set in a little bit like slower as you continue to do it. But at first you're going to feel that lactic acid and that slowdown happen faster and faster. So it's important to do this somewhat frequently so that you get used to it. But we're going to go over intervals and stuff here in a minute. It's very carb focused for fuel. You're going to be burning through fast energy very, very fast. You're going to be using blood sugar from foods that you've already eaten or glycogen stores that are in your muscles. Post-workout recovery should absolutely be used after these types of workouts. Muscle breakdown will be occurring. Conversation is highly unlikely, right? If you are having a conversation while you're doing sprint intervals, you are not sprint intervaling. You are jog intervaling. Okay. So intervaling is likely not a word. Jenna, correct me. I'm sure it's not. So, whatever. Call Webster. Anyway, so as far as maximal heart rate goes, for me, that's going to put us in that 174 to 185 range. This is going to be where you are improving speed. You are helping improve cardiac recovery. This is definitely going to be muscle breakdown occurring. This is definitely going to be nutrition afterwards, post-workout stack. You're going to be sore if you don't. There's no way you're having a conversation at all. The maximal amount of time that you are doing this is like less than a minute to 3 minutes at absolute max at a time. If you are maxing out for 3 minutes in this heart rate zone, you are a beast and a half, right? Like, whew, okay. Your carbs are definitely getting used at this point. Okay. And it's just really important to understand that when your body is going from different types of energy sources to get you through a workout, you understand what you're doing in that workout, right? If we're doing a walk or using primarily body fat for fuel in that walk, perfect. Our primary goal for that walk is muscle retention and body fat loss. Whereas if you're doing, HIIT interval training at, the second to highest level, well, yes, we're going to be breaking down muscle stores, but that also means that we are going to be rebuilding them afterwards. And in that recovery zone, we go into burning fat for recovery in the later part, and having more muscle improves the metabolism on the back end, right? So we just want to understand what those different types of systems are working in our body. How often should you train in each zone weekly? I think is something that's important to touch on. It's going to depend on your going to depend on your goal, and it's going to depend on you, where you're at, your age, all of those things. But as a general speaking guideline, the zone 1 to 2, so like the easiest stuff, you could do that 1 to 3 hours a day if you want to. You could walk for 3 hours a day if you want to, and that's fine. That's fine. Walk all you want. So it's gonna be walking and lifting workouts. You can do that daily. Now, zone 3, that's gonna be like 15 to 30 minutes at a time, 1 to 3 times a week. So that's gonna be EMOMs, AMRAPs, chippers, that kind of stuff. Zone 4 is going to be like your hit sessions. That's going to be like the really high intensity stuff where the kids always ask me my favorite color, mid box jump. That's going to be that one. 5 to 15 minutes, 1 to 3 times a week, right? It doesn't have to be a ton. And then zone 5, that like all out, like pushing all out. You don't even have to do that every week, right? I don't do it every week. No, but you can. But I would not do it like more than 5 to 10 minutes per week. Right? You imagine this, right? You're primitive and you're living in a cave. Let's hope that you're not putting yourself in the position to be outrunning a tiger on the daily. That is what we're kind of thinking here, right? You're going to probably get your ass moving if there's a tiger trying to eat you, but you're probably not going to put yourself into that position very often, right? So think of that, like that makes sense. So less often, but still important to do on occasion to make sure that we're keeping up on it. And then as far as how accurate is the heart rate on Apple Watch, specifically with the Apple Watch, I'm not terribly sure. But I'll say heart rate on all of our watches, because obviously I wear 2 wearables here. Heart rate is generally pretty accurate on all of the different wearables that we have. Don't go off of the heart rate on like your treadmill, right? Because if you're not even hooked up to the treadmill don't know what your heart rate is. Right? Don't go off of the treadmill's heart rate. But if you've got like your Apple Watch, your Polar Global, your Garmin, your Whoop, that kind of stuff, those are going to give you a fairly accurate heart rate, but we are not going to look at the calories. The calories are total guesstimate, right? So do not look at the calories, but we are going to look at the heart rate. And then Jenna said, also keep in mind what may be in one zone during an activity with someone may be an entirely different zone for someone else. So box jumps for me is a high zone, but it might be moderate for someone else. That's absolutely accurate, right? And it totally depends on that human, right? It depends on that person. Some people are built to be sprinters, right? But if you put them into a weightlifting room and they say to do, a set of 20 snatches with a barbell, one person's going to be better at the snatches, one person's going to be better at the sprints, but you're both going to put yourself into a higher level zone because they're both really hard work. So it really just depends. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, Jenna. That's really, really helpful. The other thing I did want to touch on is distractions. So often, like guilty, we'll see like our average HR is rather low for a workout, even though you're working really hard. And often what happens is we're taking longer rest times than we should be taking. And that happens because we get distracted. Now, common distractions. Everybody's going to know this one, and this is my culprit, the phone. Right? For some reason, I feel the need to check messages between rest times because 90 seconds is absolutely enough time for me to answer a message in a very educational way. No, it's not. Right? Like, I don't know why I do this. Like, oh, look, somebody messaged me. Stop looking at that. I don't have time right now. So if your phone is distracting you, could be a good thing like to consider not doing. It's definitely on my intentional list to stop looking at messages unless it's from like my husband or the kids or the school. And just put that aside until I'm done, because otherwise, instead of resting for a minute and a half, I'm resting for 3 minutes. Well, yeah, your heart rate's going to drop drastically in that amount of rest time. TVs and regular gyms are going to be a really big distraction. All of a sudden, like your favorite show comes on, or a movie commercial captures you, or you're watching the weather. I don't know, whatever, but it can pop up and distract you. So maybe we don't watch TV. Maybe if you're in there by yourself, you turn the TV off. Let's see, people having conversations with you during workouts. So if you're at the gym and somebody comes up and like Susie Q wants to have a nice little convo with you while you're in the middle of a set, that can be really difficult to maneuver. Maybe invite them to join the set with you, or say, hey, hold on 1 second. I got to rep out these 5. Let's chat here in a minute. Most people in that gym atmosphere are going to respect that. right? Most people are going to respect that. So I would just be honest, invite them to do the workout with you, or tell them like, hey, I got another set. Let's continue this in about 2 minutes. And then they will. And that's totally fine. Kids are often a distraction, right? As I was saying earlier, they're going to come in the middle of the workout. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to need snacks. They're going to do whatever kids do. So it's difficult, right? There's not really a great thing to do other than give them an activity to do while you are doing your workout, or try and do it before they get up is often what we end up doing, or include them in it, right? Sometimes I get Shay and Sky to do the workouts with me, which sometimes slows me down in a different way, but at least we're doing it together. There's a lot of different ways that you can maneuver that, but do your best, because you know your kids, what you can do to kind of distract them or include them, whatever you need to do in order to get through that workout a little bit easier. Bathroom breaks are another big one where we all get caught, right? Because all of a sudden we have to pee 12 times. This is me. But then I like dilly dally around and I'm right. It's been about a minute. No, it's been like 4 minutes, right? Like, let's get back to work here. So just, be honest with yourself. If you're taking too long to do different things, then it's going to lower your heart rate and lower your effectiveness of that workout as well. So figure out what your main distraction is right now and set an intention for improving it. So me, my phone, checking messages, I'm going to do my best to only look at certain types of text that come through. Otherwise, put all of those to the side while I'm working out. And then that will help improve the more effective workout with a higher average heart rate, which will be better all overall, right? So that's the whole plan there. Miss Jenna, whiteboard has been such a game changer. So that way she doesn't have to look at her phone for the next exercise. That's a fantastic point. The only other thing that I get really stuck with, right, which you guys may or may not relate with, I record parts of my workouts for social media aspects, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, notifications. It's not helpful. So there's that. I should just really record things after I'm done with the workout, but what can I say? Well, I can let you all go. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. Thanks for joining us, and I will be chatting with you all later on. Bye, everyone.